Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you all of the mods that I use to improve the overall look of The Sims 2. It's an old game that lots of us still choose to play, so improving the way it looks is a really big way of making it feel like a more modern game. This is just everything that I use. I'm going to be starting Let's Play soon, so I just want to have a resource out there to cover any potential questions of how and why my game looks the way it does. And I'm sure many of you, if you've found my channel, have seen Pleasant Sims tutorial on improving the look of your neighborhoods. That video goes into more installation tutorial than I'm going to, but I will be covering ReShade in this video and a whole range of mods ranging from Overhaul in the lighting and the landscape all the way down to teeny tiny little minor details. Note that this tutorial is going forward with the expectation that you have done all the necessary fixes to make Sims 2 run properly and smoothly on modern operating systems. If you haven't, if you've just installed The Sims 2 or are about to, hold your horses, you're a step too far. I can put some links in the description to help you get The Sims 2 set up properly. That includes doing the 4GB patch and some other things, but I do just want to mention the graphics rule maker because even though that is a part of the fix of getting Sims 2 working properly on Windows 10, I just want to mention how this in itself can improve the look of the game just by itself, because running this will mean that you can turn the edge smoothing on in the game, which would be grayed out without this. So that makes things look much nicer. All the sides and the edges look nice and smooth. It means that you can play in 1080p, which looks a lot better. It should fix all the issues with blocky shadows, and therefore you won't have to disable stim shadows. And I recommend forcing the texture memory. I have mine set to 1946 megabytes, I believe. So that's just under 2 gigabytes. Because if you don't make these fixes and then you start throwing graphics mods at the game, you are really likely to start getting that notorious pink soup. So you want to make sure you set up your game in a way that's going to be able to handle these graphical improvements first. So the first mod I want to show you is my lighting mod that overhauls the lighting system of the game, and I use GoodMod's Radiance light system. There are some other lighting mods to choose from. I know the Maxis Match lighting mod is another one, but I've never used anything else other than this. I've never felt the need to. I really like it. But if you decide it's not for you, there are other options out there. To give you an idea, this shows you what a room looks like at different times of the day under natural light, but I'll show you more in game so you can get a better idea. Note that this does have more complicated install instructions. I do recommend using this automatic method that installs it through something called Scriptorium. And that's basically going to mean that you'll have these Scriptorium files in your downloads folder when it's done. So reading these instructions might seem a little bit overwhelming, but download the mod file, this one here. Once you look in the zip file, things will become clearer. There's text documents explaining what to do with each part and at each step. So just follow it along. It is clearly explained. I know it seems overwhelming. I'm not going to cover it because honestly, it was quite a long time ago since I installed this, so I'd basically have to read everything just as you would, but I know that it is self-explanatory, so yeah, just give it a read, download the file, have a look around that, and follow the instructions on the text documents in there. And if you still need more help, you can join my Discord server and ask in the Sims 2 help channel. I also just want to mention that when you properly have GoodMod's Radiance lighting system overhauled properly, you will have this section in your user startup cheat file. That needs to be there if you add any other cheats or aliases to this file like I do. You need to make sure that this section for GoodMods is still here and you don't change those or use any of these cheats again and change them or whatever, and don't have any duplicates. It's important to keep this section how it is. I also have 2 other cheats related to graphics in some way here, but I believe they are related to some mods I will be showing you a little later on. All the links to all the mods I mentioned in this video will be in the video description, so you'll easily be able to find them there. And just so you know, I'm kind of splitting this video into sections, so I'm going to be showing you a couple of mod pages and then opening up the game and showing you what what they look like. So at the moment I'm going to show you all the big graphics mods, the ones that I feel that really overhaul everything about the game looks, and then we'll move on to the smaller details. So I also want to mention another mod by GoodMod, which is his camera mod, and that doesn't really enhance the graphics, but it's quite important to mention because you can get a lot closer, you can zoom in a lot more, and admire those much nicer graphical details that you're going to be installing. And also it's pretty much required for some mods that I'm going to be talking about later on, so that's really useful to have. It just improves the feel of the game as well. You have a lot more control over the camera and can get to much larger angles and much closer angles. There's a couple of different versions to choose from, but I just use this option A. There's option A, B and C. For some reason you can choose between raw files and zip files, but they're the same ones, so these are just the backup of the original Maxix cameras, and they're ABC in zip form, and there's ABC in raw form. Doesn't really matter whether you go for zip or raw. So I'd just grab this option A in the zip, and this mod also doesn't go to your downloads folder, it goes in your cameras folder. And as you can see, all of the original game cameras I have backed up by adding a dot back to them, so I never lose them, and then you just overwrite the rest with the ones from this. But if you've seen my video on my must-have mods for overhauling Creator Sim, you'll know that I don't use the cast camera from this mod, I use another mod for that. So I'll refer you to that video because that's where I cover my UI and some other things like that. So that also helps to overhaul the look and feel of the game as well. So yeah, see that for more information. Next we've got this mod called Soft Outdoor Shadows by Lazy Duchess, that just improves the look of the shadows. As it says, it makes them softer, they're not hard blobs as she describes them as. It just goes in the downloads folder, and in these screenshots she says she's using GoodMod's lighting system, which I recommend. So, and that they're what I paired together, and you'll be able to see more on how they look in my game in a minute. And next we have ReShade. The preset I use is called Long Distance Winner by Goneril Cap, also known as Dread Pirate, and the way I tweak my files makes this a really light preset. It doesn't have a massive effect on my game. The main noticeable thing is that it looks brighter and more vibrant. And I got a question about this on my last video when I was covering Starship UI, about why my game is brighter, and that's what kind of motivated me to make this video. I tried to be as helpful as I could in the comments, but a lot of mods work together to create the look that I have in game. So while this mod is responsible for the vibrancy primarily, I thought this video could be helpful. So in the description it says it's quite heavy, so they recommend turning off depth of field, bloom, MXAO off if you want to use it for gameplay, and I do that, and I'll show you how to do that and what it looks like. So that's why my game just looks slightly more vibrant instead of this strong cinematic effect that can kind of be unplayable actually. But then they're always there to turn on to take some pretty screenshots, which is really nice. So what this is just an INI file that you place in your TS bin folder here, but that won't do anything on its own. You need to actually install ReShade first, which I'm not going to cover too much. I'm just going to refer you to this tutorial because, to be honest, I had a nightmare initially installing ReShade. I got it to work eventually, but this method is like the more recommended method these days, and it just did not work for me at all. Eventually the DVXK method, or at least some version of it, honestly I tried so many different things I can't even remember which one I ended up sticking with, but it is DVXK that I use in some way. So that's some information on how to install ReShade with DVXK. So just refer to that. The links to what you need to download for this method are here. So hopefully everything you'll need to be able to install ReShade is on this thread, so I'm not going to cover it. All I'm going to do is show you what my TS bin looks like. So I have this ReShade shaders folder, this D3D90LL, and the log that it ends up generating. This is the reshade preset that it then uses, and all kinds of other things related to reshade. So yeah, sorry if that's not as helpful, but there are other resources on installing reshade. The point of this video is to cover lots of mods instead of going into the nitty-gritty details of installation of just a couple or just the one. So I'm just going to point you in the right direction, and hopefully that's at least some help. And lastly, for these overhaul mods, this might seem like a mod that should come later in the tiny details section, but I love this mod so much that for me it does overhaul the look and feel of The Sims to me. When you compare it to this, and this is the way The Sims 2 Plumbob looks, and then you replace it with this gorgeous gem, it really has a huge effect on your games. I know some people choose to turn the Plumbobs off, but for me, they are just so iconically The Sims. I would never do that. I love looking at them with this replacement, and I'll show you what they look like in game and all the other mods I've just mentioned right now. So I'm here with the Goth family, and hopefully you can notice that my game does look a little bit better. It's more vibrant. The lighting is gorgeous. You might be able to tell some of the effects here. I'm going to set it to dawn in a moment because that's a way that you can really tell. Same with these shadows, you can kind of tell what they look like here, but at dawn you'll really be able to see the difference. Also note Cassandra's wedding ring, engagement ring, sorry, and that's a tiny little detail I'm going to be showing you later on. So yeah, this is what my game looks like with reshade on, and I am going to hit my button right now that turns the reshade effect off. Do you see how dull that looks like in comparison? I can't even believe I ever played like that. I don't know how I played like that. Look at the difference, it's gorgeous. So I've just pressed my hotkey that brings up the reshade menu. When you open the game, you'll get a little bar at the top which tells you which button to press to get this menu up, and then you can like change it in the settings if you want to change any of the hotkeys. But anyway, this is where you turn the effects on and off that you want. So these are the only effects that I have on. I also have that. I don't even think it's necessary for this preset. So yeah, these are the settings that are responsible for the brightness and vibrancy. So I've just turned all the settings on, so all the boxes are ticked now, and you can see this is the shade in full effect. So as you can tell, this can make for some really nice screenshots, but it's not the most practical to look at in game, especially with this UI blur going on, and the depth of field can, take a while to focus. So for me, my computer can handle it okay. It's not a huge problem, but I just wouldn't really like to play with all this on like this. So that's why I just leave it off. And as you can see now, that looks duller than it did before, but once again I'll turn it off, and yeah, you can see that it is still a huge improvement. So you just need them little settings to make it look much better. Also, look at this plumb bob, look how nice that looks. Let's have a look at Alexander's platinum one. How gorgeous are they? Literally like diamonds in the sky.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Love them. So I have just set the time to 6 AM, and you can see the effects of the light in here and the shadows really clearly. Look how soft the shadows are and how nice the lighting looks. So just speed through until 7 AM so you can see the change. Unfortunately, it is a sudden change. There we go. It's quite a drastic change, but that's how it is in game. There's no way of changing that. It is a bigger jump between 6 and 7 AM to the way the lighting looks. So that's just something you have to deal with, that sudden jump in lighting, but it doesn't bother me. I think the daytime looks nice and vibrant, and it's just really worth it to have that really nice hour of low lighting. And similarly, this is how it looks at 6 PM. So this also looks very dim and moody before it switches to full darkness at 7 PM, like so. So the next few mods are ones that improve the look of the neighborhood in neighborhood view particularly, and ones that improve the landscape. So to start off with, we've got this no more blurriness mod. It took me a minute to get my head around what this mod was doing. Basically, it seems like the motivation for making this mod was improving the way that things look when there's a light amount of snow. As you can see, this is like a blurry mess, and then we've got a clear texture here. So like a light sprinkling of snow is very like low quality, and this makes it much better. And then through doing that, that also makes the cliff sides look nicer, and you can also choose between a few different colors of these. There's a black, grey, and an old texture. I guess that means like the original kind of look. Yeah, and that's one I use. I use the old one that's like true to the way the Maxis look. I wasn't ready for that big difference in colour, but it might suit you. So this is what the black one looks like, and that's what the grey looks like. So I still prefer like the dirt of the original style, so that's why I kept that, but it's entirely up to you what you like the look of. It improves the way that the beach sand looks, and as I said, the light sprinkling of snow overlay. Next we have Sky Fix, and this mod basically adds back the effects you're supposed to be able to see in the sky that you can't. It says the sun, moon, stars or meteors can't be seen properly on the sky while playing a lot of seasons. Saying playing on a lot of seasons, any newer pack. So that mod fixes it. And then additionally, it provides better support for displaying neighbourhood skyboxes on horizon lots, which are important because I'm going to be showing you some skyboxes in a moment. So as you can see, originally the sky was just plain, and this adds back the stars and the moon. And this is how it looks with one of the skyboxes I'm about to be showing you. But firstly, I just want to cover another fix on Mod The Sims. It's by the same author as the No More Blurriness, but I don't know how to pronounce that name. Boeli, maybe? So yeah, I kind of just wanted to avoid trying. I don't know how to pronounce this, so yeah, I don't mean to seem like I'm like brushing over giving the authors credit, but I don't want to make a tit out myself butchering the names. That's probably more insulting. Anyway, this mod improves the way that the deserts look, the desert terrain looks, so like in Strange Town. So as you can see, before it was like this big blurry texture, and now it's much clearer, much higher quality, and the details are smaller and fine. So this is what it looks like before, and then it just, you can tell that it looks like much softer sand using this. So yeah, that's much better. So now I'm going to get on to the skylines. So these are basically like scenes or settings you have in the background of your neighborhood that give you something to look at instead of just a abyss of blue. I'll show you how to place them properly in game in a moment. But yeah, they have a really nice effect on the way your neighborhood looks. And then paired with the skyline, it's also nice to have some clouds as well, which add moving nice clouds to your neighborhood that you can see them from lot view. You can place them per lot, and you can place them in the neighborhood as well. And there's a couple of different colors to choose from, and they change based on the time of day. And when installing these, you also want to follow this tutorial. After like 2 minutes of looking, I finally noticed that where I read the information is on this link where it says follow this tutorial. And this basically tells you what settings to put your game in to make sure that you can see these skylines and skies and quote unquote give it an open world feel. So it tells you to turn off the fade distance and put your view distance to extra large, and then you can see far and wide, and then you get the full benefit of having them. And this is where I got these 2 cheats from to put in my user start file. So yeah, I suggest you follow those steps as well, and then you'll have the best effect of that in game. I also use these sun and moon replacers to make the sun and moon look better. I use the Corona sun. This was made 3 years ago. If only we knew what Corona was going to become. and I use the real moon. Again, the information and installation is all in there, but mainly you need to pick the one you like and put one in your downloads folder. Next, we have neighborhood tree replacements because they are a hot mess. They are just hideous green blobs, so replacing them really has a big effect. I use this neighborhood tree default replacements by Honeywell, and I know most people seem to use another tree replacement called linden trees, I believe, but personally I'm not a fan. No disrespect to the modder whatsoever. I just prefer this one. I like how that they keep the bushy look. In my opinion, the linden ones are a bit too perfect, a bit plastic looking. And this is also gentler on your system as well. It's not as intensive. So this just replaced some of the neighborhood deco trees, the trees that you put down in the neighborhood decorations tab. But you can also see them from lot view, and they look really ugly when you're in a lot and you can see a tree that's across the street just placed in their neighborhood usually. So these make them look so much better. But for the birch trees, I use this relatively new mod by 6 Foot Sims called Beautified Birches, which just affects the birch trees on the neighborhood, and it makes them look more like the ones that you can buy and place in normal buy mode, like in a lot view. And these look really nice. Unless I'm missing something, it doesn't seem like Honeywell covered the birch trees. But either way, if you have this mod loading last, then that'll make sure you get the beautified birches of this mod, overwriting any added by Honeywell, but then all the other types of trees will be Honeywell's improvement. Next, we got road replacement. I have two options, both by the same author, Dread Pirate, the author of the reshade preset I use, now known as Goneril Cap. So this is the one that I probably usually use in most neighbourhoods, and it replaces it for all terrain types, meaning whether you're in the lush of Pleasant View or the desert of Strangetown, this is how it will look. And I'd probably choose this version 1. But in my own time, I'm playing Veronaville, and for that I've gone with this paved cobble default, and this only affects the lush terrain. So if I went into did I say Strangerville? Oh my god. Bleh. Yeah, so this won't affect Strangetown, just Veronaville and Pleasant View and the other lush terrains. But because I'm mostly playing Veronaville at the moment, I thought this one suited it the best. So this is the one that's currently in my game, but if I then started playing Strangetown, which I hope to do soon, on stream and then make let's plays of it, or went into Pleasant View or whatever, I'd probably switch to this one, but this one suits Veronaville really well. And lastly, we've got 2 super tiny minor fixes of the lot view, and this one just basically makes it so that if you put a basketball court down and recolor it to the invisible court recolor, it will look like that on lot view instead of looking like the green court that isn't there. That might seem like a really stupid thing to mention, but you know, if you've put a lot of effort into designing a lot to look nice, you know, you want it looking as best as possible. Any minor thing that can make it look a little bit better helps. Same with if there was an issue for the playground equipment, it would always default to this green and red colour, no matter what you recolored it as. So that just fixes it, that it will actually look like what it is in the lot view in neighborhood view. So I'm now in the hood view in Pleasant View. Ignore all the apartments all over the place. I had to do a lot of testing for some mods to do with those. This is just like a test version of Pleasant View for me. I don't actually play in it. So the first thing you might notice is the trees, how nice all the trees look. You can see the birch trees there and Honeywell's replacement for the rest, and I think they blend really well together. They match really well, and personally I wouldn't say the same for these beautified birches and the linden trees. I think this is a really nice look. And of course the roads, you now have the cobbled roads, which doesn't look great in Pleasant View, but trust me, it looks brilliant in Veronaville. And you have like a full pavement, not just like awkward bit of grass pavement. So yeah. So with Gun Mod's camera mod, it means that you can zoom all the way out. And this is really handy for being able to place the skylines. So if you go to your neighborhood decorations and go in effects, you can see the skylines and the skies. I only have 2 skies because I deleted all the ones that I didn't want. If you just downloaded the lot, you'll have like a lot more than this. These are only the 2 that I use. So you just pick one of the skylines first, whichever one you prefer, whichever one you think suits the neighborhood best. I'd probably go for Green Hills in Pleasant View. I use Rural in Veronaville and would use Desert for Strangetown. So let's place Green Hills. So basically when you put it down, you can see that the box now has this arrow, and what you want to do, you want to line up that arrow in the very corner of the neighborhood. And Pleasant View is a bit tricky because the corner is like on a slope, so honestly it's kind of hard to know where to put that, but we're gonna try place that there. And then you can see all around is this skyline, which you might think looks a little bit weird in neighborhood view, but trust me, when you're in a lot and can look out at it, it's really nice. So now you want to overlay a sky. You just put it right over the top in the same place, and then you have a sky above as well that you'll be able to see. So I've just loaded the goths back up. I just want you to notice Mortimer's eyes. That is a massive improvement, but I'm not going to cover how to make the Sims themselves look better because I already have a video on that, which I will refer you to now. But yeah, the eyes are the main default replacement that I use, and right now I haven't changed the goth family to improve their clothes and hair and such, but yeah, everything to do with the Sims is in another video. So for the roads, you can see that it affects the neighborhood, but for the lot you have to place it down yourself per lot. You just go into decorative miscellaneous, and it's like the cheapest thing because it's free. So you have to turn move objects on, and then you can place it. Hold down shift to place several pieces at once, just in case you didn't know, and then that covers up the default road on the lot and matches with the rest of the HUD. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect match, as you can see this color difference, and that is to do with the lighting mod I use, which is a bit of a shame, but it's just something to deal with. It's not a huge problem to me, but if it is to you, then you might not want to use this road replacement. If you do want to go with GoMod's lighting mod, you might want to try a lighting mod that has roads to match, or the other way around. You might find a road that does specifically match with your lighting mod, but for me, it doesn't bother me. I mean, you can see the line of where your lot boundaries are anyway, so this doesn't make a huge difference to me, but everyone's different, it's up to you. And if we now go down, you can see the skyline in the distance and the clouds up above, and it just creates this feeling that there's more out there. You're not just on a floating plane, you know, you're in a round world with views to look at and a sky up above. Next, I want to show you another 3 mods that I've kind of categorized together as Flora mods. This first one is called Max's Plant Fixes by the same author as several of the mods we've seen already. And basically what this mod does is fixes Max's laziness when it came to seasons. Basically, the plants don't change state throughout the weather, so this just makes them die in the winter and blossom in the spring. And it also improves the look of these 2 specific plants that are very bright and shiny and pale to give them this dull green, more realistic look. And next is a very new mod posted last month called Weeds Default Replacement, and it basically just makes the weeds more green and like the stem to match the leaves a bit better instead of this weird blue looking stem, and that just adds a little bit more vibrancy. And lastly, we've got HD terrain paint replacements. So when you're doing a landscaping and placing that terrain paint down, you'll notice a huge difference if you're painting down with higher quality textures. So you might already be able to tell how much higher quality this terrain paint is that's already down. I'll show you some of the other ones. I'll show you some of the soil that's much higher quality. To be honest, it kind of looks weird if you do get really close like that, but from distance it just looks nice, and I think it goes fine with the default terrain. I know lots of people replace the default neighborhood terrain, but I haven't found one that I like. The one that everyone seems to use is this like really dark, vibrant green grass that I just don't like at all. It doesn't look realistic to me. I much prefer this paler, kind of slightly dead in places look. So yeah, that's why I don't replace my default neighborhood terrain. Here's what the park bot looks like. That looks really nice. Again, it does look a little bit like you've slapped a picture on there when you zoom in really close, but from a distance it blends really well and looks nice. I highly recommend these default terrain paint replacements. It makes a big difference. Next, I've got 3 more tiny little mods that I've categorized together as home improvements, and this first one changes the color and texture of the wall, like in between the walls. Before it was this really ugly brown, and you can choose whatever you want. I use the white version, but you can have a dark gray or a medium gray if you prefer. And I also replaced this ceiling from this old like bobbly effect, because no offense to anyone who has ceilings like this, but typically this is more dated. Older houses tend to have these style of ceiling, so having just flat style painted ceilings just give the homes a more modern, up-to-date twist. And lastly is really simple, just an invisible recolor of the concrete driveway, because in game when you've only got these 2 colors of driveway to pick, it can match really poorly with the house, or really restrict to the kind of pavements and paths you use. But if you just replaced it with this invisible recolor, you could then put anything you want under it. You could copy the path you've got, like these stone slab, or you could paint it with some custom terrain paint, you know, and it just opens a lot more windows for just exterior decorating with the types of paths and terrain that you can use when you have, you know, limitless options when it comes to your driveway. You can do whatever you want and you don't have to worry about it matching with the rest of your house or not. You can just put anything under it, put a car on top, and it works like any other driveway. They can use it as normal, and you can make it look however you want to. It gives you much more flexibility there. So that's not a direct graphical improvement, but hopefully you can see why I've just decided to mention this, because it gives you a lot more creative freedom with making much nicer, up-to-date houses. You might have noticed the wall top already. As you can see, mine are just a plain white, and it might be something you never noticed before that there was a problem, but yeah, sorry now that if those brown ones are bothering you, you can go grab that. And as you can see, the ceiling is plain painted too. And for this last handful of mods, I've categorized these as tiny details that aren't worth showing you in game, because they just do exactly what they say on the tin. You can get all the impression you need of what they do from the mod pages. They're really self-explanatory, so I'm just gonna quickly go through the mod pages so you can get an idea. And this first one is called Better Bubbles Headline Texture Replacement, and basically it just replaces these exclamation bubbles when they need or when they're talking or thinking about someone. It just makes them higher quality. So as you can see, that's how they look before, and that's how they are with the mod. They are much crisper and clearer. And next is another mod by the same author as the bubbles, and it just replaces the computer screens with something that just looks better. And then the kind of blurry mess, I can't even remember what they look like in game now without this replacement. They just look much better. And then you can also grab a replacement for the term paper. There's an add-on, recommend that as well. And the way to get the best benefit out of this, as I assume is shown in the screenshot, is this mod called Lighting Up, a mod for bright computer screens. So as you can see, this is how it was before. You can barely see the screen, and then this just brightens it up and you can tell what they're doing. And the brilliant thing is that these are compatible, so now you can see these nice high quality modern replacements nice and brightly. Next is a mod called Default Book Covers and Novel Icons, and what that does is replace the texture on the covers on the front of books, and there's different ones for the different genres. And then also also when you're in the write a novel menu, the little storyboard icons are replaced. I believe they're all from The Sims 4. But I think in this case, the Sims 4 UI textures look nice in The Sims 2 as well, and it just updates them, make them look crisp and clearer. And next is a mod called Yellow P, and yes, it does exactly what it sounds like. It makes the pea puddles yellow instead of blue, so now you can better distinguish a puddle on the floor between a pee puddle and just a spillage of water. The water spillages from things like broken sinks or water balloon fight will still be blue, but when the puddle has been created from a sim having an accident, it will be yellow. And all you need to do is scroll down right to the bottom of this directory. That's all the mods from More Awesome Than You, compatible with Apartment Life, and it's a second from the bottom, just called Yellow P. You just click that and then it will download. Next is a mod called Dishes Fixes, and basically it improves the way that the dishes and pans look. As you can see in this bacon tray, the bottom's kind of broken because the grill shelf pokes through it, and that just fixes that. And then the plate. Why is it this weird, dirty looking texture on the plates? I hate this so much. This mod is like so essential for me. It seems so minor, but it really makes a big difference. Instead of having this blurry, messy mess on the plate, they're just normal, clean plates. It just looks so much better. They still need washing and everything. They still wash them up and put them in the dishwasher, but they just don't look like they have these like beans or whatever they're supposed to be on them. No matter what you have had to eat, there's this same mess on the plate. It just looks gross and ridiculous. So yeah, that gets rid of that, which is really nice. Next is baby bottle replacement. It changes them to clear with, clearly white milk inside instead of just these blue bottles of mysterious contents. So yeah, that's much better. And similarly, this replacement for glasses of water, it's a replacement from The Sims 4, because in The Sims 2 they're really blue and blocky. So yeah, this makes them look much better. And then we have this mod called A Bunch of Defaults, and this ranges from fixing items to just improving the look of them just cause, and a lot of things you can choose between. So there's a lot of things that improve the way that lights behave, the way they look when they're on and not off. You can change how the hydroponics garden look, can make them look brighter and with red or purple flowers, improving the look of some various foliage, flora, fauna, whatever you want to call it, the look of some statues. I don't use this option. I don't use chunky wedding rings, but it is a valid point that the thinner ones can have clipping issues, so that resolves that. But personally, I really don't like the look of chunky wedding rings, so I don't use this file. This mod is very modular. You just pick what you want, and you can replace the way the bottles look when they're serving drinks at a bar, because come on, we know they're not drinking water. So you can replace them with these really nice looking spirit bottles. I can't even remember which one I went for. I think it was this pink gradient one, maybe. And then to logically match that, you can change the way that the liquid looks in the cups, and then changes the cup so that they're nice and smooth and round, not blocky like octagons or whatever they are. So yeah, it makes them clear, nice round glasses with a liquid of whatever you want inside. Also, this mod provides a default for the glass of water, but I just prefer the way it looks in this mod. There's not that much difference between them, to be honest, so it's up to you. Doesn't really matter. These really nice retextures of the bar trays. Again, which one did I even go for? Was it this black one? Maybe? Whatever. It's a hard choice because they're all so nice. It's just entirely up to you which one you prefer the look of. So as you can see, it can really overhaul the look of serving drinks at a bar with these replacements. Next is a mod that replaces these small appliance colors, because they're usually this really off-white, this really dirty old cream, and you wouldn't believe what a fresh modern look it gives just to make these appliances look white. They're kind of these essential things that you need in every house, and they look really dated in this beige color. So they just look so much better in white. I highly recommend this. And this isn't a default replacement, but this is a set of recolors for all the base game kitchen equipment to just add the option for them being in black, like silver grey or white. And again, you just wouldn't believe what a difference it makes having these simple modern colors are instead of having these bright colors or these off-white shades. It just makes a huge difference. And of course it's not only the base game appliances that have this problem. I just want to show you this to get started with. A lot of the times when I'm building, if I'm like, oh, that object would be nice in this color, I just go to Google, type in this object in this color, recolor for The Sims 2, and usually one comes up. And Michelle is a great place to start. She has so many files on Mod The Sims, and lots of them are recolors, and you can really make things look much better with some more recolor options. And then I just have a couple more really tiny little default replacements by the same creator of the white small appliance mod. This one is for the spaghetti. It greatly improves the look of the spaghetti, and you can choose whether to have the one with the meatballs on or not. I just preferred the look of just the plain pomodoro sauce. They also improved the look of the snowflake. They took the textures from The Sims 3 and it made them much higher quality textures, but since they are so small and the file size is so small, it shouldn't have an impact on your performance. But when it snows in game, it should look much prettier with this mod. And lastly is just a tiny little thing that might seem so dumb, but everything helps, and it just improves the look of the rows that Roman Sims pull out of their backside when they are smooth talking with a sim. And lastly, there's two mods that are basically just personal preference. They don't necessarily look better. It isn't higher quality or anything like that than the Maxis, but this is a mod that makes the wedding ring silver. It to me looks more like white gold. It's really nice. It's really pale. And personally, I prefer silver jewelry, but the Maxis gold is very yellow, so I just think it's a nicer color than the really ugly yellow. And then similarly, there's this mod that replaces the engagement ring, which I showed you on Cassandra's finger, and there's different colors to choose from. So you can have a sapphire, a plain one, the silver and diamond, which I use. It's so pretty. Just look how nice that is. I just think it looks a lot better than the default one with the yellow gold green. And I really liked the red, and I was really tempted to use this. I just think the diamond one looks so perfect. I couldn't resist, but it's up to you what color or gemstone you want to use. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention them in case you'd also like to replace the ugly Maxis yellow gold too. So that's everything I have for you today. I think that was quite a long video, probably. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you did. Stay tuned for more Sims 2 content. I have lots more ideas for mod videos, including the traits project and some mods that add realism difficulty, family mods, all kinds of things, some tutorials on SimPE, and some gameplay. I'm so looking forward to getting into some gameplay with you guys, get streaming, and then upload them to YouTube. So yeah, stick around for them. Feel free to join my Discord. A link to that will be in the description, as with all my other socials like my Twitter and my Tumblr. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. But anyway, yeah, that's all I have to chat about today, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys!